In just a few short years, Billie Eilish went from being an unknown teen creating tunes in her bedroom with her brother, Finneas O'Connell, to a bona fide music industry star. She's already taken home her fair share of top industry honors, like her multiple Grammy Awards, and earned enviable gigs, such as becoming the youngest person to write and record a James Bond movie theme song, according to Rolling Stone. Lucille Ball is considered one of comedy's greatest legends. Forever synonymous with her six-season 50s sitcom, I Love Lucy, the starlet is truly loved by many, with reruns of her show still making audiences laugh to this day. Give her an ashtray, and she could do 20 minutes of shtick. She was one of the greatest comedians of all time, mused one of Ball's closest friends, Lillian Briggs Winograd, to people after her death in 1989. She used to laugh at anything. On camera, it appeared that Lucille Ball had it all. Her marriage to Cuban rumba singer Daisy Arnaz wasn't just tabloid fodder, he also portrayed her husband on the hit series. On screen, they made us laugh. The zany firecracker Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo was always up to no good, while her husband, conga player Ricky Ricardo, was full of wit, regularly putting up with his wife's antics. While the pair made for a fantastic double act, Ball's real-life relationship to Arnaz was wrought with infidelity, dysfunction, and despair. And that's not all, either. As it turns out, the actress didn't exactly had an easy-going life. Here is the tragic real-life story of Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball lost her father at a very young age. Lucille Ball was born on August 6, 1911, in western New York, the daughter of Desiree Dee Dee Hunt and her husband, Henry Durrell Ball. On top of all that, Eilish has also become a style icon. According to Lucille's autobiography, Love, Lucy, the family swiftly relocated to Montana, where Henry was working as a telephone company lineman, then to Wyandotte, Mich. when Lucille was about 3. The I Love Lucy star remembered her father as a wonderful guy, adding that her mother would tell her that she got her sense of humor from him. If that's not all, she also adds that Henry taught her to play rough around the edges, tossing her to the ceiling and catching her a few feet from the floor, perhaps later developing her love of slapstick comedy on the screen. I'm known among comediennes as a stunt girl who will do anything, she mused in her memoir. As Lucille writes, she adored her father, yet the same year they moved to the Detroit suburb, he came down with a case of the flu. Unfortunately for Henry, before he had a chance to recover, a storm suddenly hit their neighborhood. An obsession with Billie Eilish and her style is practically required if you identify as Generation Z. Glamour notes, while pointing out that the singer-songwriter is recognizable not only for her signature sound but also for her signature style. In fact, Elle explained that Eilish's aesthetic choices are so buzz-worthy that, her style. Despite his bad cough and fever, he climbed up the poles in the sleet and snow, trying to secure the tangled, fallen wires. Of course, his fever got worse, and his condition never improved, turning into typhoid fever. He died not long after that storm, Lucille heartbreakingly remembered, on February 28, 1915. A gun-playing incident cost Lucille Ball's family everything. After her father's untimely passing, Lucille Ball's mother eventually remarried, settling down with a metal polisher, Ed Peterson. According to Ball's autobiography, Love, Lucy, what followed next was the family, along with Lucille's grandparents, moving into a three-bedroom house in Celoron, New York. Is subject to memes. But why? Well, the "you should see me in a crown" singer, who could certainly pull off a crown, if that's what she was into, is known for wearing anything she wants, and follows her own style rules, as Insider puts it. That self-satisfying tendency towards fashion has resulted in red carpet appearances and on-stage looks that truly set her apart from other pop stars. Let's check out the intriguing, captivating, and ever-changing looks of Billie Eilish. Little Billie Eilish was adorable and free to be herself. Billie Eilish Pirate Baird O'Connell, which is obviously an epic name, was born in Los Angeles, California. On deck. As the starlet writes, "My grandparents had little money, but they gave us a richly satisfying family life." Unfortunately for Lucille, tragedy would soon strike yet again. On the future comedienne's 16th birthday, she recalls her grandfather, Fred, coming home with a mysterious object wrapped in brown paper, a .22 caliber rifle. 2001, according to the BBC. While she's now known as the instantly recognizable Billie Eilish, a striking teenager and stunning young woman, it turns out that she's always been a real-life camera-worthy character.
How do we know what she was once like? The star has shared a few baby pics on Instagram, like the one of herself and her big bro, Finneas, and goodness gracious, what a cutie. A sweet smile, round cheeks, and eyes that were just as lovely then as they are now. Eilish was certainly a beautiful child. Her brother, Freddie, immediately wanted to shoot crows right away, so eventually, their stepfather placed tin cans as targets in their backyard, inviting their neighbors, Cleo, Johanna, and Warner over to play, as well. As Johanna picked up the gun, Warner's mother called him home, frightening the girl and causing her to accidentally shoot Warner instead. That remained true throughout her younger years, which fans can also see via her IG account, where she's posted glimpses of herself as she got older and was homeschooled, meaning that she was free to explore both her creative talents. For instance, the BBC notes that at 4 years old, Eilish wrote her very first song about falling into a black hole, and later joined the Los Angeles Children's Chorus at age 8, when she started competing in talent shows. At the same time, the girl who was destined to be a star was obviously also free to explore her fashion-related preferences, such as a New York Yankees cap, puppy shirt, and shiny pants, which led to a remarkable style transformation for this fascinating famous figure. Early adolescent Billie Eilish is barely recognizable now. Billie Eilish was still a teenager when she found fame, but when you take a look at how her style has evolved over the years, you'll notice that she's gone through a massive metamorphosis during her time in the spotlight. That includes the way that she's changed from the young teenager that she was to the mature teenager that she became. However, that doesn't mean that she wasn't always, well. He was rushed to the hospital, where it was discovered that the bullet passed right through Warner's spine, severing the cord. While Ed Peterson offered to pay the medical bills, Warren's family filed a lawsuit, and won. They took our house, the furnishings that Lucille's mother, Dee Dee, had bought so laboriously on time, week after week, the insurance, everything. My grandfather never worked again. The heart went out of him. Totally Billie Eilish-ish. You'll get an idea of what that means when you take a look at one particular photo that the star shared on Instagram back in July 2019. It ruined Saint Laurent for us, it destroyed our life together there. A traumatic childhood experience left her with paranoid tendencies. If the death of Lucille Ball's father when she was 3 wasn't already traumatic enough, the comedy queen also suffered some haunting childhood experiences that would later come to plague her, even as Ball became an A-list Hollywood legend. As Ball writes in her memoir, Love, Lucy, while her mother was pregnant with her little brother, Freddie, her father fell ill with the flu, causing her mother to keep her under control with a dog leash tied up in their backyard. In the throwback image, fans got a look at Eilish when she was an early teenager. Standing in her bedroom, with walls covered in Justin Bieber posters, which makes sense since she was a huge Bieber fan, to the point where her mom nearly sent her to therapy over her obsession with the fellow singer. Eilish can be seen wearing a glitter-covered, rainbow-colored dress with thick red straps tied up behind her neck. Every time somebody would pass by on the sidewalk, Lucille wrote, I'd beg to be released. According to Charles Higham, who wrote his own biography on the starlet, The Real Life of Lucille Ball, via Los Angeles Times, that wasn't even her most traumatic memory. Per Higham's book, when Lucille's father was diagnosed with typhoid fever, the whole family had to go into quarantine. While she's either not wearing makeup or is wearing very little, she did accent her look with what appears to be a big, red bow in her light brown hair. Although this is a far cry from the kind of refined, if arguably eccentric, ensembles Eilish wears nowadays, as her style choices have evolved as she's gotten older, she was clearly willing to wear flashy outfits even then. Billie Eilish stepped into the spotlight with a simple and understated style. When Billie Eilish first hit the big-time music scene, her style was a lot more understated than the kind of flashy fashion that she's become known for embracing. Granted, the singer initially found fame at an age when most teenagers are still experimenting with their look in high school instead of on the red carpet at major industry events in front of countless cameras that share their photos with media outlets all over the world. Case in point, the time that an adolescent Eilish attended the Teen Vogue Young Hollywood party on Sept. This rejection and forced isolation
had a deep effect on Lucille, contributing to her paranoid feelings of rejection later in life and perhaps inspiring a desire to make people accept and love her, a desire that consumes all entertainers. Lucille Ball was told to give up on acting. There's no denying that Lucille Ball is a comedy icon. 23, 2016, in Malibu. Winner of numerous awards such as the Golden Globe's Cecil B. DeMille Award or the Lifetime Achievement Award in Comedy at the American Comedy Awards, it's clear that Ball made her mark on television for countless generations to come. The My Future singer showed up and posed for cameras wearing a sage green t-shirt dress, white sneakers, and a camo baseball cap layered over her pigtail braids, Style Bistro notes. Oddly enough, however, the actress almost gave up early on in her career. According to the Los Angeles Times, when Ball was still a young 15-year-old girl pushing for her big break on Broadway, her drama teacher told her to give up. Leaving school shortly after, Ball simply kept gunning for an opportunity, enrolling in the John Murray Anderson Dramatic School in New York. While she was in a handful of Broadway chorus lines, her career really started when the future starlet turned to modeling. As the outlet notes, America grew to know her on billboards, magazine ads, and on posters in its drugstore windows. Finally, in 1933, she turned her sights to Hollywood. Interestingly enough, perhaps her teacher's advice stuck with Ball for years to come. As she once told Rolling Stone in a 1983 interview, via Pop Goes the Decade, the 50s, I am not funny. My writers were funny. My directors were funny. The situations were funny. What I am is brave. As anyone who knows her tragic life story is aware, Ball was right. Her marriage to Dacey Arnaz was nothing like it was portrayed on screen. Premiering on CBS in October of 1951, I Love Lucy was a smash hit, due to the adorable on-screen couple that was Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo, Lucille Ball, and Ricky Ricardo, Dacey Arnaz. She also opted for bare legs and seemed to have short nails with a simple bracelet, necklace, and large, even oversized, depending on your preference, hoop earrings as her only other accessories. However, despite the fact that this is quite a bit different from Eilish's later looks in the following years, she was already posing with her now signature solemn expression, which includes a seemingly unimpressed stare and perfectly pouty lips. While that may be a look that's in any adolescent's arsenal, especially if they tend to be on the emo side, Eilish made it a part of her blossoming brand. Billie Eilish moved on to puffy, big, and baggy clothes from Billie Eilish's oversized matching tees and shorts to massive parkas and sweats. The baggy look that the singer often rocks has become part of her aesthetic, Bustle once pointed out. The pair were a real-life husband and wife duo, as well, and as Ball would tell an interviewer years later, via Los Angeles Times, it was, at least for me, true love from the start. As it turns out, the creation of I Love Lucy came to fruition to salvage the marriage, as Arnaz wasn't exactly an all-around sweetheart. I can see why their marriage didn't make it, recalled Keith Thibodeau, who played Little Ricky on Ball's show, to People. Indeed, it's hard to imagine Eilish in anything other than the massive outfits that she seems keen on wearing. The young and stylish star explained why she prefers to wear baggy clothes during an ad for Calvin Klein, according to Teen Vogue, revealing that it's not just because she likes the way it makes her look, but because she's motivated by how others perceive and react to her. Dacey was really a great guy when he wasn't drinking, but as kids we'd definitely stay away from him when he was drunk. Sure enough, along with the alcoholism, their marriage was wrought with infidelity and the threat of divorce from Ball looming over Arnaz's head, via Closer Weekly. Like all great comics, she had a sad streak, mused the actress friend, Ann Sothern, to People. When Dacey was drinking a lot, she'd call me in the middle of the night and say, "Get the priest. Nobody can have an opinion because they haven't seen what's underneath," Eilish said, referring to the result of her too big clothing. Do something. Finally, after 20 years of marriage, Ball and Arnaz divorced in 1960. Nobody can be like, "She's slim thick, she's not slim thick, she's got a flat ass, she's got a fat ass." No one can say any of that because they don't know. NME noted that the singer's statement ignited a bit of a debate, with some fans supporting Eilish's reasons behind her fashion decisions, while others were pointing out that people shouldn't be made to feel they have to hide their bodies in order to not be harassed or called names. Whatever fans and critics thought of Eilish's reasoning, in September 2019, the star revealed that it was a look that she was thinking about ditching when she turned 18, according to Bustle. But wait, more on that later. Then came Billie Eilish's constantly changing hair color along with Billie Eilish's big, baggy clothes. The style-savvy singer has become known for her ever-changing hair color. He Arnaz was like Jekyll and Hyde, Ball said years later, via Los Angeles Times. It was always the same, booze and broads. Lucille Ball suffered 2 miscarriages with Desi Arnaz. As many fans of the actress know, Lucille Ball's marriage to I Love Lucy co-star Desi Arnaz wasn't the fairy tale that was portrayed on screen. She's tried out everything from a lovely light lavender shade to dark black strands with the admittedly shocking and undoubtedly attention-grabbing addition of neon, highlighter green, roots. From dark tints to pastels, Billie can effortlessly pull off any hair color and she's not afraid to either, according to 17. That's perhaps why Cosmopolitan had tallied 13 different colors that Eilish had tried out as of December 2019, including platinum white, platinum silver, smoky gray, seafoam green, bright blue, turquoise blue ombre, and faded denim blue, just to name a few. But let's go back a step, because there's a good chance you're saying, hold on, wait a minute. Highlighter green roots? Yes. 17 also noted in September 2019 that Eilish had dyed her roots highlighter green, which prompted some to wonder whether she was inspired by the character Jolas from the manga series, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Even Reddit users noticed the resemblance, and, of course, brought out plenty of proof to back up the theory. In fact, due to Arnaz's infidelity and drinking problem, Ball was left mentally exhausted, perhaps contributing to the fact that the starlet suffered several miscarriages, via country living. So, why exactly did Ball stay in such a stressful marriage for so long? Lucy always wanted to please him, mused fellow actress and pal, Ruta Lee, to Closer Weekly. I found it surprising because she was such a strong, independent lady, but when it came to Desi, she was very old-fashioned. Of course, everyone has their breaking point, and 1944, after being married for 4 years, the pair separated, albeit briefly. But as 17 points out, whether her look was inspired or not, one thing's for sure, she definitely killed it, like she usually does. Billie Eilish embraced sunnies, beanies, and super long coffin nails as Billie Eilish's style developed. She began topping off her baggy outfit rainbow hairstyle looks with a few extras. The star not only loves sunglasses like her $420 Gucci sunnies, but she also likes to pop on a hat. In the end, they reconciled after talking and agreeing to pursue more projects where their professional lives would intersect. It looks like the success of I Love Lucy, which premiered in 1951, was a positive influence on Ball's tumultuous life at home. 3 months before the first episode aired, Arnaz and Ball became parents to little Lucy, with Desi Jr. following suit in 1953. You can even buy a Billie beanie if you want to top your noggin like the star. And then there are Eilish's nails. Over the years, she's gone from short nails to lengthy and trendy coffin nails. If you're curious about how on point Eilish is when it comes to her manicures, then you'll surely be impressed to know that she goes to the same nail artist as beauty mogul Kylie Jenner. Indeed, check out Tammy Taylor for some celeb-worthy finger-tipping styles. Even Elle couldn't help but point out Eilish's talents during a 2019 interview, noting that, she's as hard as her fake nails, which go clickety-clack on the kitchen table as she reclines in her seat. At the time, they were fluorescent green and pointed like stakes used to slay vampires. While chatting, Eilish preen-ed them through her mane, prod-ed them into her ear canals, and flick-ed them on their sides when removing sleep from her eyes. Earlier, she made a hole in her left hand with one of them while riding a horse. Eilish explained the incident herself, saying, "I stabbed myself. Whatever." As the icon herself reflected to People in 1980, her proudest achievement was having the first baby at 39. That's got to be the biggest. She retired her legendary character to film her final feature film. "I love these nails, but I'm gonna change the shape because I don't wanna accidentally poke a horse in the face." Billie Eilish goes designer punk. Billie Eilish embraced an edgier punk-like look as she started to get older, but did so with a refined sheen, going from 1980s and 90s hip-hop and skater looks, per the New York Times, to designer duds like Gucci, Chanel, and even masked Louis Vuitton-ish looks. And it tanked while I Love Lucy was on air. The sitcom completely captivated the country. Indeed, part of Eilish's style is to slay coveted copies from one of the hottest semi-forgers around. As the Los Angeles Times wrote in 1989, the show was so popular that it literally stopped the nation every Monday night from 9 p.m. While the logos certainly are Louis Vuitton derived, they aren't a new drop from Virgil Abloh. To 9:30 p.m. Even department stores shut down while it was on television, some posting signs that read, "We love Lucy, too." I Love Lucy finally came to an end in 1957. Lucille Ball then tried to resurrect her familiar character in 1968's Here's Lucy series starring her two kids, mainly to kickstart their own careers. Instead, the pieces are the work of Imran Musvi, Instagram's favorite bootlegger to the stars, according to Vogue. What do these choices say about Eilish? Well, they mean a lot, according to the star. Once that was accomplished, she decided it was time to retire Lucy in 1974. The Lucy character is too old to run around like an idiot, she once declared, via Los Angeles Times. Clothes are the first thing that matters in every day of my life. Everywhere I go, everything I do. Instead, that same year, Ball filmed her final feature film, Mame, an adaptation of a Broadway musical. Reviews ripped her to shreds. Jerry Herman, who composed the Broadway hit, recalled to the Miami Herald in 2007, that, he was badly disappointed with Ball's Mame. But Mame wasn't the only failure in Ball's career. At 75, she decided to return to TV with Life with Lucy in 1986. Everything. It, too, was a flop. It was a terrible burden, mused Ball's former publicist, Thomas Watson, to Closer Weekly. They were still writing for that former Lucy, instead of a Golden Girls kind of character. Lucille Ball's son, Dacey Jr., became a drug addict. Lucille Ball's second child, Dacey Jr., whom she welcomed into the world in 1953, unfortunately, took after his father, Dacey Arnaz, when it came to his bad boy reputation. "It's the first thing that I think about that I barely even think about it," Eilish told Vogue Australia in 2019. She continued by explaining that her whole personality is based on her clothes and what she's wearing that day. "I'll have a different personality for a different outfit sometimes. Years ago I was a playboy," recalled the former child star to People in 1978, at the ripe old age of 25. "From the time I was 13, I thought I was in love." Sure enough, Dacey Jr. did think he was in love, shockingly even fathering his own child at 15. However, taking after his father when it came to womanizing wasn't the only problem that Dacey Jr. "If I'm wearing something I don't feel comfortable in I will turn into a totally different persona that I hate," Eilish continued. She also claimed that, fashion has always been her security blanket, and her way of expression without having to use words. Eilish noted, "Fashion is its own language. And I use mine all day, every day." Lucille had a lot of problems with Dacey Jr. "There's really no limits to where you can wear anything." Billie Eilish turned into a creep-tastic goth pop star, or did she? Billie Eilish may have been into a hip-hop aesthetic mixed with a street-style vibe when she was younger, which was, like, just a few short years ago, but by the time her debut album When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Came out in 2019, she had morphed into a super freaky goth girl. The singer's videos for You Should See Me in a Crown, Bury a Friend, When the Party's Over, and All the Good Girls Go to Hell are particularly dark, and see her covered with spiders, being stabbed with way too many gigantic needles, sitting around with eyes that leak black liquid, and staggering down the road with demon-like wings during a fiery apocalypse. Even the album cover, which sees her sitting on a bed with purely white eyes, black hair, and a disconcerting smile that will send shivers down your spine, is enough to give you bad dreams. Author of Encyclopedia Gothica Lisa Ladouceur debated whether or not Eilish is genuinely a goth pop star, saying that she appears to be a pastel goth meets Hot Topic nu metal child. She added that while Eilish's music both does and doesn't suit the definition of goth in various ways, influence, content, etc., her fashion sort of bounces into the goth realm, and the nightmarish imagery that's presented in her videos is like mini horror movies. Basically, what she does visually is the most gothic thing about her. Billie Eilish stripped down to make a point. Billie Eilish has to face an unfair amount of scrutiny when it comes to her body. Because of Dope and Everything, dished one of the starlet's closest friends, Lillian Briggs Winograd, to People. For instance, she once made headlines when she greeted fans in a tank top. "My boobs were trending on Twitter. At number 1. She never gave up on him," she added. "Every outlet wrote about my boobs," she told Elle. That's why she chose to cover up in baggy clothes for so many years. However, in March 2020, Eilish shocked fans during a concert by ditching her signature oversized outfit and playing a body-shaming protest video, which she then shared on Instagram, that shows her from the shoulders up while she's stripping off her top and lowering herself into black liquid. Even Daisy Jr. In the video, called Not My Responsibility, Eilish says, "Some people hate what I wear, some people praise it. Some people use it to shame me." She continues by explaining, "So while I feel your stares, your disapproval, or your sigh of relief, if I lived by them, I'd never be able to move. The body I was born with, is it not what you wanted? If I wear what is comfortable, I am not a woman. If I shed the layers, I am a slut." Himself knew he had his mother's support. As he told the outlet, "During the days I was doing drugs, they tried to help me. My father had a drinking problem. My mother was a person just like anybody else. When I went through drug and alcohol recovery 7 years ago, they went through it with me." Ultimately, Lucille's son finally checked himself into rehab. Why? Now that Eilish is getting older, she told Elle, "I'm gonna be a woman. I wanna show my body. We'll just have to wait to see how the public reacts when that happens, and if the star is able to continue to ignore what others think." What would Billie Eilish look like without her flair? It's pretty hard to imagine what Billie Eilish would be like if she didn't have her attention-worthy flair. "Both my mother and my father were invited to come with me, and they did," Daisy Jr. However, she gave the world a glimpse at a more normal version of herself in her Zanny video, which was released in December 2019. Sitting on a white bench in a white room while wearing an all-white outfit that consists of simple pants and an understated sweater, her hair is just brown and not neon, her nails aren't black but instead appear to be rose-colored, and she has minimal makeup on. Frankly, Eilish looks like anyone you might pass on the street and not at all like the outrageously stylish star that she's known as. Normally, Eilish goes to the other extreme. "I just like dressing out of my comfort zone," she told Harper's Bazaar in 2017. "I want to dress in a way that if I was in a room full of people wearing regular clothes, I would be like, oh, I bet everyone's looking at me. I want to feel that way. That's my casual." However, in Zanny, Eilish opts instead for a somewhat laid-back look, which many people would consider to be the more common version of casual. Granted, it's one that includes cashmere pants by the elder statesman, according to Harper's Bazaar, which can set you back around $1,000 per pair. So even without the flair, Eilish's style is still somewhat over the top, told Closer Weekly in 2020. "They were very supportive, and I think they were helped tremendously by what happened to me." Lucille Ball's tumultuous marriage left her short-tempered thanks to Desi Arnaz's inability to remain faithful. Lucille Ball finally reached her limit in 1960, the year the couple divorced. She'd had a lousy situation with Desi's carousing and gambling for 18 years, explained the actress' longtime friend, Lillian Briggs Winograd, to People. She wanted out of Hollywood because everyone was always saying, "Poor Lucy." As it turns out, Ball was most likely fed up with the pity, too, and the entire situation rubbed off on those around her, especially on the set of the cult comedy classic. As Richard Burton wrote in his autobiography, The Richard Burton Diaries, she is a monster of staggering charmlessness. She is a tired old woman and lives entirely on that weekly show. Burton then coldly summarized, "I loathe her today but now I also pity her." Keith Thibodeau, who played Little Ricky, echoed a similar sentiment, revealing, "You had to walk softly around her sometimes, if she wasn't feeling well that day or something. There would be a tenseness in the air. She had a temper, via People." In the end, after her divorce from Arnaz, it looks like Ball finally found some clarity. As actor Charles Pomerantz recalled, the starlet actually counseled a number of actresses when they got their divorces, telling them, "If you're in the public eye, the greatest problem you're going to have is that the men you attract are going to feel castrated." The death of Desi Arnaz completely shattered Lucille Ball. What can a couple do to salvage a marriage when love simply isn't enough? In Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's case, giving up seemed to be the only option. As Daisy Jr.'s best friend, Keith Thibodeau, told Closer Weekly, "I think they had come to the point of divorcing and there was just no turning back." Sure enough, Hollywood's golden couple divorced on March 4, 1960, after 20 years together. Unlike the bitter divorces that have plagued Tinseltown couples for decades, Ball and Arnaz seem to flourish after parting ways, even with one another. "The best thing that ever happened to them was getting divorced," explained Lucy Arnaz, the couple's daughter, to Closer Weekly. Their relationship even got more passionate and more friendly after they were not married to each other anymore. Although they both remarried, Lucille to Gary Morton and Daisy to Edith Mack Hirsch, it was evident to everyone that these two exes genuinely still cherished one another. As Lucy told the authors of Desilu, the story of Lucille Ball and Daisy Arnaz, via House Beautiful, Desi's last words to his former wife before he died were, "I love you too, honey. Good luck with your show." As for Lucille, when it was her time to pass, Paula Stewart, a friend of Morton's, recalls the starlet's second husband telling her, "After she died, Gary said to me, 'I guess she's happy now, she's with Daisy,'" via Closer Weekly. Lucille Ball passed away right as she was recovering from surgery in April of 1989. Lucille Ball suffered a heart attack at the age of 77, undergoing more than 7 hours of open-heart surgery, via AP News. According to the surgeon who treated her, the comedian's condition was guarded but optimistic. Stand-up comedian Bob Hope told the outlet, "There's only one Lucy. Like the rest of the world, my wife Dolores and I are praying everything will be all right." Tragically enough, although switchboards were jammed with calls from well-wishers and reporters from around the world, the icon of comedy didn't make it through. On Wednesday, April 26, 1989, a week after she checked into the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, Lucille Ball died of a ruptured abdominal aorta. There was nothing to indicate this would happen, the hospital's spokesperson, Ronald Wise, told the Los Angeles Times. As Ball's friend, Michael Stern, announced to People after her passing, her private nurse said that she went to bed that Tuesday night feeling good, knowing that the world loved her. God gave her that extra time so she would know she was still loved. I think she needed that. It's certain that the TV icon would be radiating to know that to this day, the world still loves Lucy, too.